This lesson is completely life changing. And if you came over here from the Chi Chi video, this lesson was happening at almost the same exact time. They overlapped, is the way I will describe it. In my life, I have not had a lot of best friends. We had moved around a lot. And in 2000, we'll call it 10 to 11, I really developed a best friend, and his name was Jay Folk. This was in Winter Park, Florida. We would go to lunches together. Him and his wife attended my gym. My wife and I, from that time, we would have dinner at their houses, played racquetball together. It was a very beautiful existence. I finally had that best friend I could be fully transparent with and share what was going on. One day he comes to my gym and he says, John, I can't do any abdominal stuff today. My abs are really, really sore. And I said, man, we played racquetball really hard the other day. I hope you didn't get a hernia. We'll lay off of them today. Comes back a couple days later. He's like, my abs hurt even worse. And I said, man, if it doesn't go away, you probably need to go to the doctor, probably a hernia. I go, by the way, though, even though you haven't been able to do abs, you are looking incredible. And he goes, John, I don't understand it. I eat pizza every night, and somehow, and I want to say he had dropped like 30 pounds. And he wasn't really, I mean, he had a few pounds to lose, but not 30. So he tells me he's got a doctor's appointment that Wednesday. I say, let me know how it goes. Wednesday comes and goes, nothing. Don't hear from the guy at all. It was like he completely disappeared. I tried calling, I tried texting, I tried emailing. I would have gone to his house, but that wasn't possible because he lived in a gated community. So several weeks go by, nothing. And I'm at my office, and the phone rings, and it's him. And I go, Jay, what was so worried about you? And dead silence on the other end. Before I heard crying, first from him, and then from me. He shared, the doctor has asked me to get my affairs in order. I have liver cancer, and it has spread. That's why his stomach was hurting. There was tumors formed, and they were pressing in that area. And I said, I don't even remember exactly what I said, but, what are you going to do? You're going to fight, da-da-da. And ultimately, he did decide to fight. His cancer had so metastasized, basically, most doctors' advice was, try chemo, try radiation, but probably it was discovered late, go into hospice care. But he had found this one doctor in Texas that would do this experimental procedure on him that might buy him, 3-5 years, and technology's improving. But it was going to be a hell of a fight to get to that phase. He wasn't allowed to leave his house at this point because his immune system was so compromised from the chemo he had gotten. But he wanted me to come to his house, and one of the things I do is I help people get stronger. Back in those days, it was physically. These days, it's mentally and emotionally and spiritually. So I go to his house, and man, oh man, it was traumatizing. It was like he looked like a concentration camp survivor. But I would set pictures of his family around him. I would urge him to fight because, man, there was just days he didn't want to get out of bed. And eventually, through my encouragement, his wife's encouragement, he had a young daughter. He fought, and they finally gave him clearance to leave the house and to get, the doctor was willing to do the experimental procedure. But since he was able to leave the house, him and his wife were going to take a date to New Smyrna Beach, which incidentally is where I live now. And this is, once again, 13, 14 years ago. And I I was so happy for him. And, meanwhile, my situation at home was dissipating rapidly. And I got a call from his wife while they were on the date. It was going so well, they originally decided to spread it out a few days. And he was going into organ failure, and didn't look good. And she asked me to come to Fish Memorial Hospital, see him in intensive care. She basically lied to the doctor and said I was his son. Jay was about, at that point, 20 years older than me. And I didn't know what I was going to say. And I had to wear like this hazmat suit type thing. I don't know what they're called. And I walked into his room and I didn't know what to say. And eventually, though, I asked him, is there anything you want to say? I love you. And he said, I'm really scared. And I said, why are you scared? And he said, I never ever took the time to get to know Jesus Christ. And I said, well, would you like to know Jesus Christ, Jay? And he said, yes. And I said, I'm not sure if I'm qualified, but supposedly it says where one or more gathers in Jesus' name, Jesus is present. And I took a bottle of water and I asked him if he would like to receive baptism. And he said yes, and I held his hand and baptized him. And he told me he was really haunted. His dad hadn't spoken to him in over 30 years and had never told him he loved him in his life. And, I reached down in my hazmat suit, gave him a hug. I mean, I had hopes, but I figured this was it. I walk out of the room, and there's this little old man there, bearded, kind of in one of those, like, Orthodox Jewish outfits. And I said to his wife, I said, Sheila, who is that guy? And she said, it's his dad. It's a miracle. We found him, and he's coming to tell Jay he loves him. And, the last thing before I left the hospital room, Jay told me to always follow my heart, look after his wife, etc., which I have. And, some people say in the Bible it says don't follow your heart, but, all this stuff is just weird interpretations. To me, follow my heart because Jesus is written on my heart to follow Jesus, which I've done. And, it got me through the thing with Chi-Chi and the dog. And ultimately, this life we have now. And he died that night. And I went to his funeral a few days later. And I had a lot of peace because the night he died, I had this very vivid dream. He looked the same as I remembered him, but younger and healthy, but yet the same. And he was very happy. And I went to the funeral, saw his wife. She was happier than I expected. And she told me about a dream she had of him that had given him peace. And it was the same exact dream as mine. God is with you. I love you. If you need any help, reach out. We started this channel to help people. Pretty please with sugar on top. Give this channel a follow.